Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Monday. Welcome to another Monday Mindset. Just fresh off of my trip to Austin, Texas. Good barbecue, by the way. So I had barbecue in the airport. Probably not the best place, but it was pretty good. So good barbecue, but just fired up from my experience going out to the Insurance Syndicate grand opening. Excited for today. Let's get it started. I'll see you on the other side of this end.
There are no bad businesses. There are just those people who don't know enough to see the opportunities in the work they're in. If there seems to be no future or opportunity in it, it isn't always because it's not there, but perhaps only because we can't see it.
Good morning. Let's go. Joe, see your comment. Appreciate your brother tuning in live. Grace, good morning. Great to see you. I am fired up off of my trip, a little tired, right? Got back in and ready to hit it today for my trip to Austin, Texas. Want to share with you guys 3 takeaways. If you missed out on the event, you got to go check out the live. It was fantastic. But you did miss out not being there. You should have been there, right? Because you got to get around the people. And I want to give you 3 takeaways that I took from this trip, going out to the Insurance Syndicate, the grand opening of the headquarters, amazing. Here's my first takeaway that I got from this trip. One is, it's all about the environment you're in, right? It's all about the environment, showing up in that environment with those people, with people like Joe and Tony and Cody and John and so many other amazing people. Showing up in that environment changes your outlook and changes your attitude. Now, it's interesting. I shared with you guys last Monday Mindset how I taught at my church on Sunday. Well, I taught at my church Sunday again this Sunday. And I was talking about in chapter 15 of John, it talks about Jesus saying he's the true vine and you should remain and abide in him. And I thought about that for just business and life. You are connected to a vine right now. And in this metaphor that Jesus kind of shares in John chapter 15, he shares about, hey, you got to get connected to the true vine, which is me, because the vine is what produces the fruit, right? The branches can't produce any fruit. If you think of like grapes, you can't produce any grapes if you're not connected to the vine. Why? Because the vine is what feeds the nutrients. So my challenge to you today is, what vine are you connected to? What vine? Because whether you know it or not, you're connected to a vine in your life that is feeding you. And from what it's feeding you, you will produce fruits. And it will either be good fruits that move your life forward, that improve your life, or it will be bad fruits. And I think about environment, right? That environment in our lives so often is the vine, the people that we're around, that we surround ourselves with. Man, when you surround yourself with people like Joe, who's commenting right now, or Johnny Ninifan. What's up, Johnny? Good to see you, brother. If you surround yourself with people like this that are vibrating at a different frequency, that are trying to push themselves to the next level, you can't help but be brought up. But so often in our lives, guess what? We surround ourselves with negative Nancy's. We surround ourselves with people who doubt us. You know, you have $1 million mindset, but you surround yourself with people with a 1 cent mind. And you've got to cut those people out of your life. And that's one of the hardest things about life that they don't talk to you about. Everybody's so motivational, right? Everybody's so much about getting around the successful people. Hey, a lot of times you also got to cut people out of your life. There are people in your life right now that are bringing you down, that are not serving you. It doesn't mean you don't love them. It doesn't mean that you don't care for them. But here's what it means. It means you don't let them dictate your fruit. It means you don't let them dictate what your results are going to be. But if you surround yourself with people, if you connect yourself to a vine, to an environment that's not healthy, you're going to produce that type of fruit. So my first takeaway from this weekend was, man, I'm energized just being around people who want to do something bigger in life, that want to make a difference in life. I'm energized by that, and that feeds into my activity, which is my second point for us today. When you think about mindset and you think about what you can control and what you can't control, I have news for you. You know, I've built a multi-million-dollar business and I've hired and fired hundreds of people. And here's what I've learned. You can't control the result. As hard as I've tried over the years to control the result, I can't control the result. I can control one thing, and that's my activity. I control what my input is. I control what I produce every single day. I can't control the outcome that I'm necessarily going to get from it. I wish I could. I've strived and I've strived and I've strived to be results-based, but the reality is you need to be activity-based in your life, not results-based, because the activity is what actually controls the result. And your best chance about being successful in life and your relationships and your business and whatever you're doing is control your activity. So here's my question to you guys. Do you know your numbers? Do you know your activity? Do you know what you should be producing every single day? Do you know these things? If I were to ask you, what is the lifetime value of your client? Would you know that? If I were to ask you, what is the CAC? What is the client acquisition cost that you have in your business? Do you know that number? Do you know how many phone calls it takes you to produce a deal? Do you know the activity that you should be producing in order to try and generate the results that you want? And most often what happens to us as business owners and entrepreneurs, we're so focused on the goal that we don't think about our activity. And then all of a sudden we're like a leaf blowing in the wind, being tossed here and fro. Every day you feel like you're on a hamster wheel because you don't know what you can control and what you can't control. And if you focus too much on the result, you're focusing on something that you actually can't control. All you can control is the activity. If you change your mindset and go, hey, I know today, regardless of what happens, I am not going to go home unless I make 300 dials. I'm not going to go home unless I go on 5 appointments. I'm not going to go home unless I go and work out. You control the activity. And if you think about like the environment you put yourself in, the environment you put yourself in oftentimes motivates or demotivates your activity, right? You can take a flower and you can plant it in the desert and it does nothing. You take that same flower and you plant it in good soil with nutrients and all of a sudden it blossoms. We've all heard that analogy before. It's a true example. What is the activity that you're doing every single day? And if you don't know it, that is an action item for you. You've got to know it, because then what you can determine, I know for my sales guys, man, minimum requirements. You have to either do 200 dials a day, 4 hours on the phone, or you have to close 3 deals. But I tell them, hey, as much as I want you to focus on closing the deals, I want you to get those deals. Ultimately, you're not controlling the other side of that equation. You don't know what the prospects are that you're going to call today necessarily, and you don't know where they're at in their life or in their business. But what you can control is you can control your activity. You control how you think about the call. You control how many calls you make. You control what you put in, and therefore you can get the outcome you want. But so often we don't think that way. Now, the third takeaway that I got from the insurance syndicate was not only do you need to look at your environment, not only do you need to think about your activity. I take this, and this is something I learned from Tony Robbins, but I was reminded of it this weekend, is the art of fulfillment is the true art that you need to master in your life. The art of fulfillment. So what do I mean by that? Well, if you look at your life, right, and you look at the things like your health, and you look at the things like making money, a lot of these things are both science and art, meaning that you can actually break down scientifically what activity you need to do to try to generate a result and outcome that you want. So, look, if you eat healthy, if you get to the gym, if you get the appropriate hours of sleep, more than likely, you're going to feel good. You can break that down. And not only can you break it down, you can look at what other people have done and you can follow that model mathematically. But the fulfillment model is something you can't follow mathematically. Fulfillment is one of those elusive things that is different for almost every single person. What fulfills me might be totally different than what fulfills Johnny on this call. What fulfills me might be totally different than what fulfills Joe on this call. Fulfillment is like an art. You've got to master the art of fulfillment, which means you got to understand what is your purpose? Why are you here? What actually enthuses you to leave a legacy that wakes you up when you don't feel it, that encourages you to actually put in the activity? The art of fulfillment is the true thing that you have to master. But it's so difficult because it's not something that's actually just scientific. I can't just follow the model of what Johnny Nitafan has done. Oh, I appreciate that. Johnny's going true and so good. I can't just follow his model, though. I've got to actually find out what fulfills me and what gets me going. And I got to have that purpose out in front of me. And why was I reminded of that when I went to Austin, Texas? I was reminded of that is because in the room, you had competitors. In the room of people that were gathering together to support the insurance syndicate, the grand opening of their office, you had actual competitors, people selling to the same type of clientele, the same type of products, but they were there supporting one another. And ultimately, what I take away from that and what I see in that is because those people have a bigger purpose and a bigger understanding of fulfillment and what actually makes life worth living than just dollars, than just trying to sell as many products as you can. And gosh, man, when you get there in your life where it's not about competing, right? It's about collaboration. It's about raising each other up. That is massive. And I will tell you this, it's like, I think I learned this from Ed Milet to try to give credit where credit's due. When he coaches people, right? And one of the things that he said on an interview that really struck with me is that a lot of times, just like Tony Robbins and these big coaches, they get calls from actors, politicians, presidents, the biggest people in business, and they say these people aren't fulfilled. They're not fulfilled. And you know the number one activity they try to put them in and try to get them to do? They try to actually get them involved in charity. They try to get them involved in giving back. When they look at someone who's unfulfilled, where they see in their life as they've made their life all about themselves, all about their career growth, and they haven't taken time to make their life about actually something bigger than them, something that lasts. And going back to what I opened with this morning, I did a lesson yesterday on John chapter 15 in the Bible, and I don't want to get over spiritually with you guys, but I think it's so powerful, is that when you connect to the right vine, this is what the text says. When you connect to the true vine of Jesus, right? When you connect to the right vine, it produces fruit that lasts. That's what the text actually says. So I challenge you in your life. What's the fruit that you're getting? What's the fruit that you're getting from the environment you're in, from the results that you're doing? And is it producing fruit that lasts? Is it fulfilling you in your life? And if not, make a change, man. Just like in your environment where there's people around you that you know shouldn't be on your team right now, that shouldn't be around you. It doesn't mean you don't have to care for them. It just means you got to cut them out of your life so they don't produce the bad fruit in you also. And you got to get around people that elevate you. I love the Insurance Syndicate. I love you guys. I love this group. I love Joe, Johnny, everybody, Grace, RN, thank you for joining. I love all you guys because you elevate me. When I get around you, your frequency is high, you elevate me, and it pushes me up. And I hope I do the same for you. So get out there, think about your environment, think about your activity, and master the art of fulfillment, and you will live an amazing life. It is Monday Mindset. I hope I motivated you a little bit to get out there, win for yourself, win for your clients, win for your family and friends. Let's go make it happen. Appreciate you guys. Let's go. See ya.